Just to show you how quickly this thing can also turn around. If we just look at the numbers and take some assumptions of Bitcoin prices and MNAVs in the near future, and if the MNAV goes back to a higher level of let's say 4, this would mean a market cap of 30 billion. And today we're trading around, what is it, between 3 and 4 billion. So it's around the 10x from today by December 31st.
Are you all in on the chair? How many chairs are you sitting on right now?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Share. None of what you will hear is financial advice, and this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So today we have a lot to cover, and we'll be starting with Metaplanet because there's a lot of interesting things happening with the company in the last weeks. And I just wanted to set the stage and show you some metrics of the company and how it evolved over the last year and a half, just to show you how undervalued it is in our opinion today. So maybe starting with the MNAV evolution that we're bringing up here. You can see when they started their Bitcoin strategy, the MNAV was fluctuating at a quite high level up to 15, then crashing down to 5, back up to 11, then crashing to 3, back up to 10. And you can see it's basically a series of lower lows and lower highs. But it's also showing that it's very volatile to the upside and to the downside. And now we are seeing, again, a lot of volatility to the downside with the compression of the MNAV almost at 1. And probably if history repeats here, it will shoot back up. But we shouldn't expect it to shoot back up to 10. Is also the message here, right? Because the highs are, as the company gets bigger, the multiples are also compressing, right? So that's definitely something also to consider. But it looks like from looking at this metric that Metaplanet is ready for a reversal here, and looking at a high of maybe MNAV of 5, 6 at the peak. Might be doable here. And looking at another metric, this is from mnav.com, and it's a model showing how overbought or oversold Metaplanet is. Again, over its history as a Bitcoin treasury company, and according to this model, we are even below the 5th percentile. So dramatically oversold and undervalued here. And you can also see here the dark line and the golden line almost converging, and this shows that the BTC value per share is almost at parity here. And again, here you see when we are in oversold territory, usually there's also quite a strong reversal again to the upside. And this model shows a fair value here of, what is it, probably around the 1,500 yen mark, and we're at 600 at time of recording here. So also from looking at it from those metrics, Metaplanet seems to be undervalued here. Then they want to reach 30,000 Bitcoin in 2025 and are almost there. As of today, they actually announced another buy of 5,000 Bitcoin, so they're at 25,000. And we know that with the capital that they raised with their international share offering, they will be able to get over 30,000 Bitcoin. So 3 months in advance of their target, that was already restated earlier this year, and to the upside, because they're just executing faster than expected. And the full year target for 26 is 100,000 Bitcoin, and by 2027 they want to reach 1% of the total Bitcoin supply with 210,000 Bitcoin, and they're 10% of the way there as of today. So flawless execution on that side. And looking at their stacking statistics, also again from mnav.com chart here that we're seeing, is an interesting one. It looks like currently their Bitcoin stacking is going exponential still, even though they're quite big. And what you can see is that in May we had an acceleration to the upside, right, where it looked like it was going to be really a faster exponential, and that's when the price also rallied significantly. And you can see then it starts to get a bit flatter now over the last 1-2 months, and that's also when the price of the stock crashed significantly. But what we're seeing here with what we know as of today is the 1.4 billion that they were able to raise. This will catapult them higher again, and this red line will again start to look very steep, and actually will stay above this exponential blue line with the 1.4 billion purchase that will come in now in the next weeks. And then we also expect the preferred equity to start being issued still this year, and this should be adding another 5 to 10,000 Bitcoin, depending on how quickly they are able to scale those, of course. But it looks like they have a good plan in place to actually stay on this trend line, or even exceed it for the foreseeable future, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that here what will be interesting to see is because they're still accumulating extremely aggressively, considering their MNAV with this international offering that they had. And so what does it mean when they actually get to start having again an MNAV that is closer to, as we mentioned before, to the 4, the 5? And does this also start again going exponential? That's going to be the big question. And probably that's where the preferred equity comes in, right? If they start issuing those. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can keep the pace that they have been, even with a very poor MNAV.
Yeah, and I think this is what has been really impressive now over the last few months, is that even though the MNAV compressed massively, they were still able to issue a lot of shares, and or to buy a lot of Bitcoin, right, and stay on that exponential, because it's a reinforcing loop to the upside, but usually also to the downside. And you see that with the other Bitcoin treasury companies that have struggled now over the last months to accumulate at an aggressive pace, because their MNAV is too compressed, and issuing shares is not very accretive for them anymore. And Metaplanet, for some reason, was able to circumvent that. And as you say, if the MNAV explodes back up again, this also gives them the opportunity to again issue more shares again.
Yeah, especially if you consider the different Bitcoin treasuries and that have appeared and popped over the last couple of months. Metaplanet has had an exceptional execution from the get-go, right? I mean, these guys, they're not stopping. Like you've seen in the other chart how their MNAV goes up and down, and it gets compressed. And you can see that doesn't matter. Here you see the accumulation is still ongoing, full throttle ahead, no issues. At least it doesn't look like it. And they have great creativity in terms of how to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, no matter what the MNAV looks like.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like they are able to do that without taking too much risk. I mean, granted, as an equity holder, you were probably not happy over the last few months because the share price crashed significantly. But it's not like they took on massive levels of debt to add those Bitcoin now. And it looks like everything is very well controlled, and their debt level is almost non-existent, and they're still able to now purchase 1.4 billion worth of Bitcoin, even though the share price went down by 60% over the last month. So impressive.
And I think that's why probably we will see Metaplanet as a number 2 player in the mid to long term, right? Because they're able to gobble so much Bitcoin. Even Saylor, in one of his last speeches, mentioned that he feels like he still needs to step up his game because Metaplanet might still catch up to them, and I think he has a point there, right?
Yeah, they're still super well placed with the Japanese market, and yeah, so I think a bright future ahead for Metaplanet. And looking at that, we can get into a few catalysts also in the short term, right? So that could turn Metaplanet around. On the one hand, you have the FTSE Japan index inclusion that is happening today, Monday, 22nd. It was announced in August, but the actual inclusion is now this week, and this will increase some passive inflow into the stock through the index. Then, as we mentioned, we have the Bitcoin purchases for 1.4 billion. They actually announced today 600 million buy, so it means they have around 800 million left that they can still buy with that. With this, they will beat their target of the year already now in September, most likely. And then we have the preferred stock that was announced a while ago, but they should start trading. According to that announcement, it was September, October, right? It's also around the corner. And then there's some rumors about an Nasdaq uplisting in the US that could also bring more liquidity into the stock. So quite a few catalysts here also in the short term for Metaplanet. And then moving to a fun part with some price speculation, or just to show you how quickly this thing can also turn around. If we just look at the numbers and take some assumptions of Bitcoin prices and MNAVs in the near future, as we said, they should have around 30,000 Bitcoin by the end of September. They could add with a 25% leverage that they target on with their preferred shares, assuming they come out this year and they have some good liquidity on them. They could add potentially another 7,500 Bitcoin by the end of the year. Assuming Bitcoin trades at 200K by the end of the year, this means that they would have a balance sheet of 7.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, and if the MNAV goes back to a higher level of let's say 4, this would mean a market cap of 30 billion. And today we're trading around, what is it, between 3 and 4 billion. So it's around a 10x from today by December 31st. If we get the MNAV reversal, Bitcoin price appreciation, and the Bitcoin buys.
Yeah, and I think the numbers might look outlandish to some people, but I truly believe that if we start seeing a reversal, everything's gonna go haywire, and it's not just Metaplanet, but as mentioned earlier, Bitcoin will go up, and probably the other or some other Bitcoin treasuries as well. All right, so let's shift gears to the breaking news of the day. Strive and SMLR. It's actually a merger and acquisition between Strive and SMLR. Looks like Strive will be acquiring SMLR. So for a deal that is non-cash, so it's going to be an exchange of shares, and it's going to be each SMLR share will be worth 21 common share for Strive, which means that it also has a premium on the SMLR shares, so approximately $90.5 per share of SMLR. Interestingly enough, the market doesn't seem to react that way. So you have a little bump on the SMLR shares, but not even close to 90. I think we're trading right now around $38 per share. And on the other side, you have Strive shares that are suffering a little bit. So they're going down now at 6%. So they're looking at what, $4 per share, more or less. So interesting dynamics. I think the market is discounting some aspects of this deal, probably on the Strive side. However, probably some arbitrage deals to be made here if you think that exactly the deal will go through properly, and the market hasn't anticipated the full extent of this deal. Additionally, Strive also acquired about 5,880 Bitcoin on the same time today. So Strive making some big moves today as a Bitcoin treasury company, and starting off really strong. Yeah, super interesting to see, considering that yeah, nothing was happening, and then suddenly their merger got approved, and they're doing a bunch of things already. So great to see.
Yeah, moving very fast with this Bitcoin acquisition. Before today, they had what, 60 Bitcoin, and now they added 5,000 and acquired SMLR, so they're at 10,000 in one day.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, for me, it's a bit of a mystery how this thing trades now, because as you said, they're either SMLR is trading too low or Strive is too high, because the numbers don't match up. And I think it's a bit of a fear that's there. Looking at the pipe deals that happened in the past with Sequence and Nakamoto, where the share price was just hammered going into the pipe share release, right? And then the stocks actually trading below what the pipe deal share price was for those early investors or institutional investors. So yeah, there probably some fear that the same thing will happen with Strive. And what is it? Mid-October, there should be those shares should be released. So probably also a wait and see from the market there on how Strive will hold up there. But still, I think it's strange. Then why doesn't Strive trade down more significantly from here, or similar higher, because there's an arbitrage opportunity here currently.
Yeah, clearly, and yeah, I suspect also the pipe deal to be probably the main factor here, creating this dynamic in the market. And another aspect also, if you look at the deal, so as I mentioned, it's a deal with a 210 premium on the SMLR shares, so that's quite a high premium as well. So I don't know if the market is also considering this as a maybe too high premium that Strive is paying on the SMLR shares. And then looking also another aspect, because it's such a complex deal at the end. So we're always looking at it from a Bitcoin angle, but let's not forget that SMLR also has their operating business, right? Their medical device business that's going there. So maybe Strive sees some opportunity there, and they actually do mention that they will be looking to capitalize on this business as well. So there's definitely something that is going on, and that's why they are actually paying the premium. So looking forward to see a bit what they come up with on this additional mention in their deal regarding the medical device operations from SMLR.
Yeah, so they're paying a premium to the current share price of SMLR, but let's not forget that SMLR was trading below NAV, right? So on the Bitcoin, they're still paying a premium, obviously, but it's lower than the 210%. And yeah, the operating business, that's a good point. I don't know what they will do with it. Do they keep it? Maybe they spin it off and sell it. Unclear as of today, right? But they want to capitalize on it in some way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the wording is quite vague in my opinion, so it's hard to tell right now. But I'm sure that the way that Strive has been operating, they're very communicative. So as soon as they know, or they're willing to share what they're willing to do with it, they will communicate. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see as well, because now suddenly Eric Semler joins the board of directors in Strive. And that's something that we haven't talked about, because Strive also recently came out with a number of interesting board members. So they're really building a great team, I think.
Yeah, I think Strive is one to watch out for. And yeah, I was getting less and less bullish on US Bitcoin treasury companies, because with strategy you have the clear leader and winner, and you have to ask yourself what is the benefit, or what is the differentiating factor of those other Bitcoin treasury companies in the US market. And I think with Strive, maybe you found one that does, with those acquisitions and this stellar team that they have. Will be fun to watch what they come up with.
Yeah, and maybe just to mention a couple of names on the board of directors for Strive. So we have the chairman, Matt Cole, who is also the CEO of Strive. Then they have added Ben Berkman from Swan. So that's going to be quite a big addition, in my opinion. Then they have also Pierre Rochard, big Bitcoiner that almost everybody knows, right? So that's also a big add. And maybe the last one I will add is James Lavish as well. So you have some big names in there, especially from the Bitcoin community being added. They definitely see that they are going to go full steam on the Bitcoin accumulation. And yeah, I'm looking forward how all this brain power comes up with all these new ways to acquire Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting in their announcement is the preferred equity offering ambition that they have for still this year, right? So we talked about how it's strange that SMLR didn't accept, or that the SMLR shareholders didn't accept the preferred share offerings that were suggested. But now with SMLR being integrated into Strive, we can look forward to preferred equity probably on the Strive side. Yeah, I think that there it will be because Strategy obviously is the pioneer there, and they're already operating in the US market, and they would like to sell a lot more of those, right? So I don't know what it will do to have additional companies issuing their own. What is the differentiating factor again there? Do they give higher yields, or why would you buy a Strive preferred instead of a Strategy preferred?
At the end, I think it's just more about the investor's preference, right? Do you want to have preferred equity from a pure play like Strategy, or do you want to have preferred equity from now something that is looking more and more like a conglomerate with Strive, right? Now with the addition of SMLR, so you have some sort of slight diversification, I guess, with the medical devices. That's if they keep it as well, right?
Yeah, the market will decide.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting competition as well to see, right? Because it's always nice to see a free market, exactly where you have the option to choose your instruments, and not that you only have one with the monopoly. In this case, that would be Strategy. So I think it's good that there's competition. Let's see how that does, obviously, but probably it's going to be hard for Strive and the others, because obviously Strategy is so over collateralized with their Bitcoin. Yeah, so I think Strive still has around 850 million worth to either buy Bitcoin or, I guess, create new deals, right? Because as we mentioned, the deal with SMLR was purely share-based. So Strive for sure, a new player to be on the lookout for. All right, so let's move to our final topic of the day, which is let's go a bit into some MSTR speculation. And here, Quentin, take it away.
Okay, so let's first look at a chart from Josh Mann that he posted this week, where he basically shows the chart of MSTR compared to IBIT, or you could also compare it to Bitcoin directly. It's the same message, and you can see that MSTR has been trading in a range here over the last year, and we're at the very low of this range, and now have a kind of an impulse here higher, and what he's saying basically is that we have a good chance to get back to the middle of this range, which would be around the 40% appreciation of MSTR compared to Bitcoin. And if we add that to the potential price target of 200,000 for one Bitcoin by the end of this year, then you would get to an MSTR price of around $800 to $900 by December. So 2.5x from now. Looking at this chart, IBIT and the potential appreciation of Bitcoin, very very doable by the end of the year. And there's some other catalysts on MSTR that we should not forget. The potential S&P 500 inclusion. We could have a run up into December, because then this could be an announcement in early December. And then we have the potential growth of the preferred equity, especially on stretch, where they haven't been able to issue a single share since the IPO, because it's still trading below the $99 threshold there. So if this changes in the near future, potentially a lot of volume coming in from the preferreds. And also Michael Saylor in a recent interview explained that they're looking at getting a credit rating for all the preferred instruments, and not sure how long this takes, or how realistic it is to have this still this year, but that could also be a catalyst to higher volumes on those shares, and potentially then more Bitcoin purchases through that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think here we tend to, again, obviously we're looking at trying to figure out the price by end of year. But at the end of the day, let's not forget that it's a long-term play, right? We're dealing with Bitcoin, so obviously volatility is, or at least used to be, the name of the game. And we've seen volatility being crushed a little bit lately. But I have no doubt that it will come back. And when it comes back, it's going to be quite spectacular to see. Whether it comes back this year or next year, that's still to be seen. But regardless, all of the preparations for this, so the STRC and the credit rating, all of this is quite new, right? Let's not forget that we had the first preferred equities from Strategy only this year, right? So it's been a few months since we started this journey. And we tend to forget that. We think it's been such a long time, but it's not. So all of this takes time until the market digests it, and it's going to take time until also the credit rating agencies also digest all of this. So, and I think it's in one of those interviews as well. I don't know if it's Saylor or somebody else that mentioned it, right? All of these agencies are very slow movers. And yeah, so we have to be a bit patient. But once we have those credit ratings and STRCs at 100, I think MSTR is going to move very, very quickly to the upside. And I think we're not even ready for what's going to happen.
Yeah, good point. And also important to mention, it can also always go the other direction, right? In the short to midterm, it's difficult to predict prices anyway. And if you look at the historical cycle, maybe this time is different, but we are trending towards the end of the traditional bull market's timing, right? And if history repeats, next year would be a deep bear market. So also important to keep that in mind as a potential outcome, and not get over your head with any investment you might make.
But it's important to look at the charts and have good hope on at least the near term, looking at what's everything we presented actually, like on Metaplanet, Strategy, now Strive. So I think overall still a good build up for Q4, as we've mentioned in previous episodes already. So not to discourage, but yeah, let's take the time to really conceptualize what's happening here on the bigger picture. Great. So I think this is more or less what we wanted to talk about today. Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thoughts are on actually on the cycle, and how it continues or not. And I'm of the opinion that this time actually is different, even though that's a risky thing to say, because usually that's not how it happens. But I think looking at the macro picture, right, we see that interest rates are now slowly coming down. So we're going into a rate cut cycle, which should be good for risk assets and Bitcoin in general. And then we haven't had this hype. Of course, Bitcoin is up almost 100% over the last 12 months. Yes, but compared to other cycles, we didn't have a huge blow off top and euphoria and that. So it's not an overheated market. So even a correction would probably not be as bad as we've experienced in past cycles. And if you look at who's buying and how much buying there is, it's you have the ETF since over a year. They're doing hundreds of millions of a week of buys again now over the last weeks. You have the treasury companies acquiring at a very fast rate. I actually just saw today on X the statistic on Metaplanet. one of the very smaller Bitcoin treasury companies, only 1 year old, and they don't have a lot of Bitcoin compared to Strategy. But since they started, they bought up 10% of all of the newly issued Bitcoin, Metaplanet alone. And Strategy, of course, they bought more probably than the Bitcoin that was issued. Everything coming together here. Of course, for every buyer, you have a seller currently. That's why the price is flat to down over maybe a few months period. But at some point, you won't have any sellers left. And if this buy pressure continues the way it is now, the only way is up.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. Yeah, and maybe just from my end, so I think one thing that really truly amazed me today was actually the news from Strive coming back to the acquisition, right? Because we mentioned in the past that probably this M&A type of activity would probably come in the bear market, but we're still in the bull market, and we're already seeing some M&A activity, and for good reasons. I mean, you have companies trading at below 1 MNAV, so why not get the Bitcoin discounted? Okay, in this case, they got it for a premium, but regardless, you see consolidation already coming in a bull market, and that just tells me that there is a lot of interest to get all this Bitcoin, and if you can get them at a discount, they're going to be scooped up in no time. So it's going to be interesting to see if we even come to a really bear market type scenario, because before we come to a bear market, we're going to have some M&A and all of these players so far. I would consider most of the Bitcoin treasury, or at least the bigger Bitcoin treasury companies, are not that leveraged. So even if there is some slowdown, it's definitely not something that they will be willing to part with their Bitcoin anytime soon. So all of this Bitcoin is locked up. And as you mentioned, with all the catalysts that you said just right now, I think we're witnessing a different type of cycle. And so I would tend to agree as well, having already lived for a couple of cycles myself on the Bitcoin side, and it's definitely a shift from what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, no, that is a super good point. And I think to reiterate that one, even if we get into a downturn, it won't be as bad as the last ones, because we didn't have this blow off top, but also because of what you just said, that what are the potential liquidation events? In the past, the bottom of the bear market was when really we had forced sellers like an FTX, or just the big Bitcoin holders blowing up and having to just dump it on the market, right? And that is what got us to those crazy levels of 15,000 per Bitcoin in 2022, for example. And now you could have, and you probably will have, a lot of those Bitcoin treasury companies having to sell, but they will probably sell to bigger players that have the liquidity and that just scoop up the Bitcoin, and it will never hit the open market. It will just be bought up by other treasury companies.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
All right. Then thanks for listening, and see you all on the next one.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?